Our next guest knows what's going on because, quite frankly, it's confusing to a lot of us. Karen Travers, ABC News White House correspondent. Good morning, Karen. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, so the latest is there's a vote at noon on the shutdown. What is this vote at noon going to be?
Well, it's scheduled for noon. We'll see how this plays out. But it would be a vote on a 3-week funding measure, fund the government through February 8th, with what Mitch McConnell said late last night is a commitment, an agreement to push forward on DACA. Not written in stone. It's not part of the bill. There's nothing included in this. It's about immigration or DACA. But essentially, Mitch McConnell saying, trust me on this one. We want to get you off the fence. We want you to vote for the spending bill. We want the government back up and running. And if it means I have to tell you we are going to do DACA and immigration, then I will do it. Now, what do Democrats do with that? Do they say, great, you said we'll do it, so we will now vote for this? That's not clear. There has to most likely be something else, either a firm commitment from the president on this, a signal that Chuck Schumer and the president have reached an agreement as to where they would go forward on DACA, but it's not clear. What do we have now? 3.5 hours to go. We'll see. But I think the fact, and maybe we're all reading way too much into everything down here, but the fact that last night Mitch McConnell made that statement. It was very short, sweet to an extent, no finger pointing. He just said, here's what we're going to do tomorrow. We want to get the government back up. Okay. Chuck Schumer said, great, we'll come back tomorrow. The partisan bickering was put aside for a few minutes, so folks were taking that as maybe that's a good thing. Sit on this tonight, cooler heads prevail in the morning. Everybody wants to get something done. It's just a matter of what it's going to look like.
So, Karen Travers, I know that I watch this just like everybody else does, and I got to tell you that both sides are trying to blame the other side so much that the majority of Americans, or the majority of people I talk to, have absolutely no idea what the argument is over.
Yeah. So, and that's a really good point, because you would look at it and you say, well, wait, the president wants to do something on DACA. The Republicans on Capitol Hill want to do it. So do the Democrats, and they're drawing their line in the sand on this. So why aren't they just doing it? Because the Republicans who controlled the agenda on the Hill said, we will do it, but it cannot be tied to government funding. These two things have to be separate. Fund the government last week, fund the government now for 3 weeks, then we'll deal with DACA. Because they're accusing the Democrats of essentially, holding the government hostage while their, big policy issue is debated. And the Republicans just aren't willing to do it because of the example it could set. It's DACA right now, but it could be something else in 6 months. It could be something else next year.
Yeah. And what's so magical about 4 weeks versus 3 weeks? Is anybody convinced that in 3 weeks they will have solved all these problems?
And that's like the question that, we were all working very long hours on Saturday and Sunday, and we kept saying, I don't understand why 4 weeks is non-negotiable, but 3 weeks with the modest maybe commitment is fine. It didn't make much sense. But I think because for the Democrats, the answer we were getting is that it forces Republicans to do something on DACA earlier. If they have 4 weeks, they'll wait till the last, day 27 and 28. If they have 3 weeks, it means there's a chance of it getting wrapped up quicker, because there is that March 5th deadline when those protections would start permanently running out, and there's a lot of concern that the longer Congress waits, that deadline could be, come and go.
Is the untold story in this, and I know your beats the White House, but is the untold story in this that DACA is not going to get through the House in any way, shape, or form? So Democrats and Republicans in the Senate want it, but House Republicans don't. So that's the sticking point.
I think it's they should be able to do it in the House, because there's enough Republicans who've come out and said that they want to. Paul Ryan, and who obviously controls the calendar and the agenda, he's one of them. And all the Democrats will be for it. So yeah, you could maybe lose some hardline conservatives, that Freedom Caucus, if they don't like what's not in it, that it doesn't go far enough on some of the visa issues, but they would have the Democrat support that they need.
Yeah.
And I think it's notable, if you didn't see it over the weekend, but we had a poll that came out with the Washington Post that found that 87% of Americans support the DACA program. So if you're the Democrats and you see that, you've decided to draw this line in the sand. You're taking a ton of political heat. The White House is saying it's the Schumer shutdown. All the blame is on the Democrats. But you're willing, you're taking the stand on DACA. When you see a number that 87% of Americans support program. I mean, we don't see numbers like that on anything anymore. This country's so divided.
Yeah.
You then feel like it's a good issue to make that stance on.
87% of Americans don't believe it's Monday. Last question for you, Karen Travers, and that is this. So just so I understand, the vote is set for noon Eastern time, but there is no agreement, right? They're going to go to a vote and see what happens?
Yeah, so there is nothing. DACA is not a part of this. What they're going to vote on today does not include DACA. It's never going to include DACA or immigration. It's just the funding bill. But it's what does Mitch McConnell say to the Democrats about his commitment to doing something on DACA after this passes? That's what we're paying close attention to see if it gets them off the fence.
Stay tuned. Karen Travers, thanks for checking in.